Okay, I have to send this link now. Hold on, everyone. I don't think. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna need some help. Oh dear. Okay. Well, I am having technology challenges. I am so sorry. Um, I really want to figure this out, and I keep trying it, and it works. But then I go to do it, and it doesn't work. And my hair is totally. It's a Saturday morning here, folks. So it's like, yeah, Saturday morning, and I do need to get a haircut. It's like getting long and like unruly. So um anyway, thank you for being here and happy end of the week. Um I I have I'm Beth Reeves. I'm a care manager currently living in China and talking about different things each day. This last day of the week, hey Bloom, gosh, I'm going to need your help, Bloom. I think I am so frustrated with this whole like I tried to set up a permanent room. I have the permanent live room set up, and that's where my thumbnails now will go to that link. So I have the same link every day, which is what I think you're doing. But I couldn't go live. I went into the live I tried from the live room to link anyway. I couldn't figure out how to go live from there. So anyway, maybe we can chat. Um, but thank you for being here. I hope that you've had a great week. Happy Friday to you. Um, and yeah, so today is the free for all day, and I wanted to follow up on last week's topic, which was retiring abroad. And I thought what I would talk about today is this idea of kind of retiring as a conscious consumer or as a conscious choice to retiring abroad, not just looking at the weather and the food and the cost of living, but really thinking about the society and the values. So let me pull up my notes, which I have to go back through all of my uh, trying to get help from screenshots. So let me go back here for a second. Oh, Bloom says send your screenshots. Okay, I will send you some screenshots after I do this. Oh dear. So, I think when we think about being a conscious consumer, generally it's forward. It's about, choosing like what coffee we get or where to buy clothes or, things like that. And I think those are all really important too. But if we really want to think on a bigger scale, then where we live is also a conscious decision. We are choosing to live our life in a place. And whether that's, in the type of city or, environment that we want to live in, if we want to choose a community that we want to live in, if we want to, or the country, that we want to live in, what kind of general society do we want to live in? And that has been very influential for me and very important for me as I've been thinking about this decision. So I am looking at practical things. I do care about weather. I do care about, the food and the cost of living and the language and healthcare and, things like that. But this idea of the values of the society is probably the most important thing that I feel that. And I feel that when I'm here in China, and I really think about it a lot, like what that means to me. So, um, and I don't know that people really think about this enough, or realize, that this is part of their decision. I think it is part of the decision, but I don't know that they're doing it consciously. Um, and so, if I share about some of the reasons that I have thought about or I've looked at for myself, and then why China has fit the the bill for me. um, I think one of the big things is I like how, China tries hard to, um, build a society that supports all of the people in the society. They care a lot about that, and, um, I don't think that it's perfect or anything. I don't think it solved everything, but it certainly has it is an example of some things that, I think it has been doing right recently. It's done very well in the last 40, 50 years. I've mentioned before that China has brought 80 million people out of poverty in the last 50 years. As such a large country with a very diverse country, even though it is a unified, um, it has lots of different ethnicities. It's a huge country. And yet it has been very successful in bringing people out of poverty. And, even it continues to do that. So even just this week, I saw an article about how the government is taking steps to make sure people don't slide back into poverty. So it's monitoring that. So even though they have succeeded in bringing people out of poverty, they haven't just stopped. They're continuing to monitor that and make sure that people don't slide back into poverty. And I think, I was even talking to my son this morning about how it's hard for me to be here, right? Like it's not easy. It's, I I it's a struggle, and I get frustrated sometimes with that. Like I look at, Thailand, I hear the stories of like Thailand or Vietnam or Malaysia, and it sounds like those would be a lot easier places for an expat. There are more expat communities, they more cater to the expat. But I realized, and I continue to kind of check myself, that that's part of the reason I am here, is that it isn't catering to that. Its focus is here. It's on China. It's on helping the Chinese the people here, and it hasn't built its focus catering to other societies. It's certainly very welcoming here. I feel very welcome and invited, and everyone is so kind. But I have to adapt to China. That's the thing, and that's how it should be. I value that. So consciously, I think I choose that. I like that about it. Um, I think other things that I value here that make a difference to me, I like that, it, uh, doesn't have guns on a personal level. I like that they don't have drugs. Um, they worked really hard on a national level to not have drugs. I like that they have low debt, financially. That's a cultural habit. That they don't live on loans, personal loans or personal debt. I think that's very stabilizing and strengthening for people in general. I think that's very interesting because that's not the culture that I'm from. I'm very much from a debt culture. Very comfortable having debt. It's like a normal thing to have a mortgage, to have a car loan, to have whatever, school debt, and I like this idea of not having debt. So that's something I value. Um, and then the health. I like that people spend time, that it's very public. Health, taking care of your health is a very public thing. And so you can see people in the morning out doing their exercises. I mean, and you can see that in the West too, people doing their jogging and stuff. But here it's more communal and more, just it's a natural thing to see, very natural to see people, they may be by themselves dancing at 8 o'clock at night, or I'll hear people singing, they'll be walking through the park and they're just singing, top of their lungs, some song. Um, and I love that. That's so good for us. That's such a healthy thing to do. It's so beautiful, strengthening, but it's not something that we would do in the West. So I like that 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 subtle shift and how that is really influential on a societal level. So so when I think of, I am just an individual person. I don't have huge impact. I don't have huge finances. I don't have huge political power or anything like that. But I still am having an influence on my world by the choices I make. And and one choice that I find is if I want to place myself in a society or a structure, a country, um, where I can learn about it, where I can hopefully uh, absorb some of that knowledge and those habits and those that culture because I value it, and also, perhaps offer something back to that culture. Maybe I can um, help them learn English, or I can share some of my experience in a way that would be helpful for them. And obviously, I'm spending my time and my money here. That is also something that's a choice. I'm doing it here instead of someplace else. Um, so that's one thing I can do, I guess. And I kind of feel it's a small thing in a lot of ways, but so is all of our conscious decisions, like, and I do think they all matter. So yeah, that was my that was my thought for today is, um, reflecting on this kind of broader, deeper aspect of where we live, thinking about where we live and where we retire, is, there are so many different layers to that question. And this was one that I thought I wanted to share. So I hope that that is interesting for you. Hopefully, this comes through. And my lovely friend Bloom will be able to help me learn how to use the live room. I was so proud of myself for setting it up and making as much progress. And then I completely could not figure out how to use it this morning. Oh well. Gosh darn. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. And I am so happy that we've made it through another week, going into the weekend. Thank you, Bloom. Um, and I will look forward to seeing you again next week. Hopefully, with everything working smoothly, technology will be my friend. Okay. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. See you soon, Bloom. Bye.